Fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction. He's going around the outside. Both of them. Maloney.
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up top.
Oh my God. Big crash. Oh my goodness. Half the field's going to get rolled.
It's very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go. Oh no.
That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.
God, what?
Are you spending a lot of time looking for setups and struggling for faster lap times? Are you tired of searching online for answers? Would you like to get setups, analysis and tutorials from some of the best sim racers in the world like Ralph Alla, Mitchell de Jong, Martin Krunker, Josh Rogers and many more? If so, virtualracingschool.com is the answer you've been looking for. VRS data packs provide hot laps from our professional coaches for you to analyse and replicate. They provide tutorials that walk you through the fastest laps and what the pros did to achieve the best times. And they provide the setups you need to ensure your car is competitive in both oval and road racing. If you're ready to get faster and reach more podiums sooner than later, just go to virtualracingschool.com and sign up for a free account today.
Welcome to Spa for season finale of Club Day Masters. What an amazing, amazing track this is. And for the cars that we are racing, the TCR and the Mazda MX-5, it is a track that will surely give some competition and some pack racing and a real challenge. Luckily, this iRacing version isn't flooded and all the tarmac is properly in place, which is great news for us here on SimSpeed TV in our broadcast tonight. I'm David Haynes, joined by Cam Dance, Jay Kennedy in the trailer. Cam, Spa.
Yeah, absolutely. We've come here in the past with this series, and it really did produce some really good racing, and pretty sure it was an Enduro as well. So second Enduro we're going to be here for, and the second time as well. So looking forward to it and seeing who's going to be coming out on top, especially in that championship picture, which is very, very tight in some respects.
Yep. So, full name, Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. And well located in the mountains, particularly the Ardennes. Once public roads, now dedicated racetrack, not unlike some sections of Le Mans if we're honest with ourselves, but a lot hillier and a lot more forested. What can you say to highlight the key parts of this lap? Eau Rouge Raidillon, famous in its own right, but then the Kemmel Straight, huge drafting opportunity, and a lot of overtakes happen into Lecombe. And then you've got Rivage, and then the fast left-handers of Pouin, and then a lot of overtaking can also happen at the bus stop. But every corner is a challenge, every corner famous in its own right. and all of them evoke some great memories of some great racing. You can picture an F1 highlight of almost any of these corners, and then the same goes for sports car racing, touring car racing as well.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of history behind the circuit, and like you said, pretty much any corner you name, you can almost tell some form of a story of it, whether it be sports cars, F1, or anything else really, because it's just had so much racing going around it, and so many things have happened over the years of it. So yeah, it's certainly got quite a bit of heritage to it.
I've got it. It's Romain Grosjean in turn 1. It's the pile up at the start down the old pit straight. It's the BARs trying to keep the throttle flat up through Eau Rouge Radion. It's Zonta getting zonted on the Kemmel straight. It just keeps going every sector, every corner around here. And this is our championship situation for Club Day Masters. Jack Boyd, defending champ, at the top of the tables from Jackson Rehana, Angus Cook. His father, Glenn Boyd, Lee Harrison, Aaron Oliver, Matthew McMillan, Vantagiato, Christopher Henn, and Shannon McMillan is our top 10 in TCR. It's going to take a lot to separate Jack Boyd from the hands that are beginning to grip onto the championship trophy. But for the Mazda MX-5s, it is Caleb Hydes, 100 and some points clear of Sean Doyle. And a big hello to his mum watching. Sam Lehman then in third, just 16 points ahead of Nick Skariev. And then Anthony Connors and Brady Buchanan tied for fifth there. Be interesting to watch. And then Philip Paradiso, Adam Sharp, Dylan Burse, and Marlon Fraser.
Yeah, so still plenty up for grabs and to keep for as well on the way through this 1 hour race, and still plenty of points as well on offer, to the point where we may possibly see a championship decided, maybe not, maybe won, maybe lost, who knows. We'll have to wait and see what's going to happen over the course of this next hour or so around this beautiful circuit. But at the moment, the timesheets are looking reasonably in favour of the championship protagonists at the moment, with Jack Boyd leading the way in TCR and Caleb Hydes leading the way in the MX-5s.
Yep, exactly. So qualifying now before our 1 hour race. And qualifying, always a difficult prospect in Club Day Masters, given the state of the multi-class session and all of the traffic, the way the slipstream works for both of these classes of car. It's difficult to find some clean air to not get disrupted by traffic, but then also sometimes you also need to set up to have a bit of a slipstream, so it's tough to know precisely where to position yourself and tough to get the absolute maximum out of the car across this qualifying session. We do have sometimes already on the board Jack Boyd having the fastest TCR time from the first flying lap, and Caleb Hydes at the front. The MX-5s at the moment, Angus Cook, I think that's a good position to be able to pick up a slipstream off Lee Harrison, who's picking up a slipstream off Andrew Hobby. And this is another long, flat-out stretch for these cars towards Blanchimont and then bus stop.
Yeah, and these sort of straights are what going to make your lap time very much putting you towards that top of that timesheet, or getting close to those at the top at least. So you want to try and position yourself just right, but at the same time, it is a long lap, so you also can't really afford to make a mistake and lose an entire 2.5 minutes to try and get another lap in. So really is all about just making sure that you can be nice and smooth, not getting off track, which is very easy to do around here, and get your lap in.
So Andrew Hobby sort of bailing out of that one and then trying to slot back in the train with a bit of difficulty. Meanwhile, the man we were watching, Angus Cook, his lap time was not valid, so he went off track somewhere, I do believe, and there are many places around Spa it's possible to exceed the track limits. Number one of them, turn one, then number two of them, Eau Rouge Radion, and you look to Huon, you think of through Blanchimont as well. So there are many places, as Adam Sharp demonstrates, even the bus stop can be difficult to stay within the white lines.
Yeah, certainly a few corners where commitment is your friend, but at the same time you don't be over committed and end up getting that off track, especially through the likes of Blanchimont and that, where you're really trying to maximize your cornering speed, but you know that you can't quite take it flat or going as hard as you really hope you can. So it's one of those compromises that you really have to make sure that you're not going to be too over aggressive with. Doyle comes across the line as well and sets a 49, although that time hasn't counted by the looks of it. So unfortunately, not going to be an improvement there for Doyle at the moment, and he'll stay in P4 6 at the moment in class.
Here is another driver we're phoning in on, Hayden Jackson. And who's his housemate again? Who's that in yellow right. In picture?
Yeah, Buchanan, that's right.
Yeah, Brady Buchanan. Well, they look like they're back in their work shirts this week.
There's at least a high vis there, so he's certainly going to stand out.
It's either that or it's Aston Martin GT merchandise. So here's the sort of alternative angle of the same shot.
Yeah, both drafting each other at the moment as well. So doing a little bit of communicating going on between the two. No, sorry, that's Sam Sharp just in front of Buchanan. Mistake that one, but Buchanan trying his best to keep up and get a little bit of draft, trying not to get held up as well. Adam Sharp looks like he's on a reasonable lap as well, so we'll see what the time is from both drivers on this lap. Buchanan currently sitting P5 in class, so not doing too bad for himself.
No, definitely not. There's still a handful of drivers without a time yet on the board. So, Sharp's decided he's going to pull off out of that one, and limited time left in the session. He's going to get back out for another run. It needed to happen quickly, hence he's jumped out of that lap when he did. Buchanan may continue with just one key braking zone left in the lap. You go through the shadows and then try to spot your braking point for the bus stop. The camber of the road really works against you at both of these apexes, and then you need to keep it within the lines. Timing line comes up real quick for Brady Buchanan, but the lap time not quick enough to improve. While we were watching the MX-5s, though, a couple of new times did come through in some of the TCR packs. I saw Lee Harrison go to second, Rayhana to third, and Angus Cook to fourth.
There has been a little bit of shuffling going on in the TCR field, but no one's really managed to get close to Jack Boyd at the moment, who still has a nice little margin of just under 4 tenths of a second, just over 3.5 tenths of a second over the rest of the field, which is quite impressive actually over the length of the lap. But Rayhana on screen at the moment, trying to better his time at the moment. He's not too far away from improving on Lee Harrison and moving himself onto the front row, and that was very, very wide. I'm wondering if it maybe was just about an off track. We'll find out when he gets to the end of the lap, though. It'll be very, very close, though, regardless. Coming through Pujon now to get halfway through the lap at least. And that's definitely an off track there. It's getting very, very crossed up, and that's not quite going to be the barrier, but it's at least a little bit of mowing.
Oh, mate, that's a bit too much action, too early in this session there. He's found a little bit of a jump in the runoff. It's launched him sideways, and he's only just managed to hold on to it, keep it out of the barriers. That was an exciting little ride. You can see others just trying to set up for what might be some of their final laps in this qualifying session. Matthew McMillan, Matthew McMillan has a time on the board. But it's Darren Sharp and Dale Carpenter who don't yet. McMillan looking to improve on a 237 and finds just a couple tenths in the bag there. Interesting little drafting train in the back round there as well, as Glenn Boyd sets a personal best, slipstreaming off of Richard Brookfield. And I think that's the other McMillan. I think that might be Shannon McMillan, might it be? Yes.
Yeah, Brookfield also improved on that lap as well in this little draft pack going on. McMillan heads that little pack at the moment. Is getting very, very eager over the inside curve at the top of Al Rouge. We'll see what's going to happen here coming through the final corner for Darren Sharp, whether he can set the time onto the board at least. The moment comes across the line, and that is not a valid lap either, so it's going to have to go around one more time, and he's probably only going to get 2 more at this rate, just with how long the MX-5 laps are. So we'll have to see what he's going to be able to do in terms of lap time. Caleb Hyde's currently at the top of the MX-5 leaderboard of times at the moment, and coming down through towards the bus stop, and doesn't really need to improve at this point. Nearly a full second ahead of everybody else, and decides to throw it into pit lane and get a pit stop practice out of the way.
Sure does. Not the longest version of the pit lane that we're running here, just the regular Grand Prix pits. Those endurance pits are something, not necessary with the 25, 24 cars we appear to have this evening. Harrison through Lafania, looking a little wide at the first apex potentially. Harrison currently sitting in second, as you can see.
Yeah, and off track that last lap as well, so we'll see if this one's going to be an improvement or not. Hasn't had a draft on this lap, so it'll be interesting to see whether it's going to end up being quicker or not than his personal best. You have to imagine it's probably going to be slower, and I'd say that is going to be slower based on the fact he's back down and let Brookfield by to try and set up the next lap for a draft.
Yeah, really eyeing to setting up for one final lap in this session. You'd have to think for Lee Harrison, and that Brookfield will stay out there and help him with it. I would not think there is any guarantees of that. As you can see Shannon Mill in the background practicing his pit entry. Also, just within touching distance was Andrew Hobby there. We've got Byron Phillips sitting 5th at the minute, but only just behind Angus Cook. That's really close in the midfield there, sort of between 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th, because there's also only 0.03 of a second between Fantagiato and Glenn Boyd, in between 6th and 7th. Byron Phillips is going to get one more lap, I think, but has missed out on improving on a 2:35.2. Buchanan, that wide entry there would make you think we're setting up for our final lap, really compromising the bus stop that time to get a good start to the lap for the next.
Yeah, no lap time that time by for Buchanan, so we'll see what he's going to be able to do when he comes across the stripe in about 2 and a bit minutes. Matthew Catalano, though, making a cameo appearance again in the series after some time off. Currently sitting P2 in the MX-5s. A little bit off Caleb Hyde's at the moment. Has looking capable for company just in behind. And those two separated by not a lot as well. So if anything's going to happen here, I'd say Capel's probably going to improve on his current time move ahead of Cardilano. But we'll just wait and see what's going to end up happening when they come through the start-finish straight, and Capel just having to back off ever so slightly to sit in behind Cardilone as well on the way into the bus stop. So wondering if that's going to have compromised the lap a little bit here, but nevertheless he's pushing on through the bus stop, and we'll see what the lap time's going to be across the line. Comes across, and it's going to end up being no lap time either, so those two not going to be setting personal best anytime soon, although Cardilone did improve on his time, so has moved a little closer, but not by much to within reach of Caleb Hyde's.
I think Cardilone only found a 10th or so, maybe even not that much there, and that's probably the end of their qualifying. With not enough time left to get around, but there would still be time for these drivers. Angus Cook. Just rounding out his lap. Also got Harrison, Rohana, and others going to cross the line here. So for a last ditch in qualifying, Angus Cook through the bus stop. It did look like it got a little wide. He's got the apex for the second part. But doesn't look like an improvement.
And I still about 2 and a bit tenths off his personal best on that lap, so no improvement going to be there, but we'll see what's going to happen between those two over the course of their final lap, and whether they're going to be able to swap between each other or work together in some form. Carpenter coming through the final few corners and across the line, and he's going to not set a time there either. So he's going to be one of the few drivers not actually setting a time in the end.
Three-tenths off improving for Brady Buchanan, who's looking pretty locked into 6th on the grid. Time rapidly running out. Here's the two boys, Jack and Glenn.
Jack's starting to bail on the pit stop entry practice. Boyd, it comes across the line, doesn't set a valid lap time, so no improvement there, and he end up starting in 7th in class.
Well, the checkered flag is waving at the line, and Matthew Cartalone is not going to improve on it. Lachlan Capel, is he going to be able? The answer is
Yes.
yes. But he still falls a tenth of a second shy of Cartalone for 2nd spot on the grid. Lee Harrison is up in some of the first sectors here. He's got to improve on a 34.9, and he's got to find a 34.6 for pole. And I think he's just fallen a tenth of a second short of pole position from Jack Boyd, but Lee Harrison locks away 2nd position with a great lap late on. Angus Cook, no improvement. Jackson Rehana navigating the final sector. It's looking on and close, but I think he's just missing a little bit of what he needed.
Yeah, not going to be moving on to the front row, at least. So he's going to be starting in P3. Was an improvement, but obviously not quite enough to better Harrison or Boyd's time. We'll see what Carpenter's going to do, though, coming through the final corner now to finish what is going to be his final lap. Comes across the line, and it is going to be a valid lap time. Puts himself in P11 in class.
Yep, moves him ahead of Matthew McMillan right at the death of the session. Anyone else out on track? Brady Buchanan could be on a lap. Vantagiato, I'm not sure of, but with just a teeny bit of time left in the session. There's just only a couple cars left to come around before we lock in the grid and then get ready for our 1 hour race to end the season for Club Day Masters. Brady Buchanan does not improve on his lap there. Vantagiato really monstering the first of those sausage curbs, then giving a wide berth to the second. I think he has missed out on improving on that lap. And that's everyone. So let's then lock it in. Your qualifying order for an hour at Spa is Jack Boyd and Lee Harrison on the front row of TCR, with teammates Raihana and Cook on row 2, Byron Phillips and Vantagiato on row 3. Then Glenn Boyd, Richard Brookfield, Andrew Hobby, Shannon McMillan, Dale Carpenter, and Matthew McMillan, our 12 TCR cars.
You're gonna go back to the MX5, and Caleb Hydes is going to be your MX5 Pulse sitter, joined by Matthew Catalone on the front row of that class. Lachlan Capel, Sam Lehman going to make up the following row with Hayne Jackson, Anthony Connors in 5th and 6th in the MX5, and then you go back to Brady Buchanan, Sean Doyle, Adam Sharp, Nick Scariev, and then Philip Paradiso and Darren Sharp to round out the MX5 class.
So our championship leaders on pole in their respective classes, but an hour and 2 safety cars is, and of course some pit stops in there as well, is a long time to keep it on the road and keep it clean at Spa. That's what they're hoping to do. You would imagine just taking the checkered flag in the top 10 for Jack Boyd would do it, and a very similar story for Caleb Hydes as well.
Yes, definitely. With the lead that both drivers have got, all they need to do more or less is just bring it home. No need to try and be 2-1 heroes or try and win the race more or less. They just need to more or less get some solid points under their belt and seal the deal at the end of the day.
Oh, this is funny. First spot on the grid is vacant because Race Control have tried to give it to our safety car. But Greg Holmes, safety car driver, will not be taken to the grid. He will be needed later on, but he will not be needed on lap 1, hopefully. So the time has to tick down before we can get it underway for a standing start here at Spa. At Bathurst, we had a little further around the tail of the grid, but looks like even the back of the MX5 field well and truly in a straight line. Although, what is this with them putting Scariev just a little off center? Doesn't matter because the start sequence is underway. The revs begin to rise at Circuit Spa-Francorchamps, and they drop the green flag. And has had a decent start, but immediately moving over, Byron Phillips is not going to give a whole lot of room to Vantagiato, I think, down the inside. And they end up in contact, and around goes Byron Phillips. He ends up rejoining with the MX-5s here at the very, very tail of the field. Bit of bump and grind at La Source already, but up the hill at Eau Rouge Radion, Jack Boyd leads from Lee Harrison, but the slipstream here on lap 1 is going to be immense down the Kemmel Straight.
Yeah, absolutely. You can already see Harrison starting to close and close very, very quickly on Jack Boyd. Moves to the inside on the way down to Lecombe, but doesn't go for the move, just decides to sit behind for the time being. So does everybody else. No one really deciding to make moves in the TCRs, at least a few in the MX5s, but everybody is still single file fear and mostly keep clean for the most part.
Leader Caleb Hydes demonstrating his tires were a little cold, so you could see him get sideways off the exit. Now in the middle of the pack here, Byron Phillips trying to work his way back through the MX5s, but Sean Doyle, who doesn't want to get into his bumper because he's battling with Anthony Connors here, and them going side by side is making life very, very difficult for Byron Phillips, who ends up splitting down the middle on the run down from No Name Corner to Huon, and that does look like it kind of helps Connors get down the inside of Sean Doyle, and Brady Buchanan gave him a bit of a bump as well. But for the lead of the class, Cardalone's got down the inside of Hydes, and there's a bit of damage on the bonnet of that Mazda.
Yeah, left front corner carrying a little bit of damage on Hyde's car at the moment. Not quite sure where that's come from, whether that was contact between the two of them on the exit of Puhon or not, but that might compromise Hydes a tiny bit in a straight line, but nevertheless we'll have to wait and see how that's all going to play out. Doesn't need to take any risks at this point, but here comes Byron Phillips to go around the outside of both of them and nearly makes contact in the process, but Hyde's just sitting in behind Cardalone, giving a little bit of a bump draft on the way down towards Blanchimont. Probably not a silly idea at this point. Try and use it as a bit of fuel saving to help the strategy towards the end of the race when they've got to complete that mandatory pit stop. And the Hyde's just ducking to the outside to, again, just try and fool Cardellone into a little bit deeper on the brakes.
Oh,
but
there's
not
a
going to be
spin
happening.
For Lachlan Capel, and it's caused a bigger issue there with Paradiso and Darren Sharp in the 46. Adam Sharp in the 46. That's really a 64. So it all starts with Capel, I think, defending third off the racing line going into the hairpin, and he catches that nasty curb on the cold tyres. It spins him around into an awkward spot, and then, well, what follows was maybe a little predictable.
That was a really, really weird spin from Capel there. Just caught that inside curb at just the wrong angle and probably just ever so slightly too much on the cold tyres, and that's not helped him at all. Vantaggiato slotting up the inside of Dale Carpenter, and then you also got the ILEC car of, I believe that was Brookfield going on by, and I'd say there's damage to that car as well, possibly. Or possibly a slowdown, one of the two, but nevertheless, that's meant that Carpenter has had to slot in behind Matthew McMillan at the moment, so he's lost a number of positions out of that as a result.
MX5 lead looking very, very interesting. This is one of those tracks where the lead car just cannot get away. The slipstream is so powerful, even in places like here heading down the hill, but particularly the Camel Straight. Bit of a nudge and boo on and all out sideways for Cardellone. Uses a little bit of the runoff, and I think Caleb Hydes just backs out, lets him hold on to the position. But look, it's let Sam Lehman and Brady Buchanan and Sean Doyle and Hayden Jackson stay in the picture the way that these guys have been fighting for the lead of their class.
Yeah, they're certainly fighting very, very hard, and we're only 2 laps in at this joint as well, so they're fighting tooth and nail at the moment, which they don't really need to be doing, especially with the fact that they've still got a pit stop and a safety car to come, so plenty of racing still in this race as Brookfield's going to look to the outside in very squirrely fashion after touching the grass in the braking zone on the way into the bus stop. Nearly pile drives into the side of Vantaggiato, but luckily holds onto it. Side by side for the lead in MX5. Once again, though, Cardellone on the inside, Hyde's on the outside. In the background as well, you've got Sam Lehman trying to get involved in this. He's going to look up the middle, try and split them 3 wide nearly, and does indeed. A little bit of contact between himself and Caleb Hydes, and that's caused all sorts of backing up between them all. Sean Doyle decides to back out and go straight to pit lane, saying, I'm having none of this, boys.
Yeah, interesting, but could be a clever strategy early from Sean Doyle. We've seen it's nearly 3-minute laps for these MX5, so by the time anyone can respond to that, that's a little bit of a problem, missing the braking marker for Hayden Jackson there as he just moves Brady Buchanan out of the way. It's just no way for anyone else in the pack here to react to Doyle any time within the next 3 minutes or so. Will change there then. Hyde's at the lead. Cardellone leading Lehman and Jackson and Brady Buchanan as Sean Doyle peeled for the pit lane, and then they all come on to the Camel Straight. It's uphill, it's long, it is a huge amount of full throttle, flat out blast past all of those bit wooden 2-dimensional spectators.
Yeah, absolutely not wrong there, but Jackson being pressured from behind by his roommate, who is 90 degrees across from him. Brady Buchanan right on the tail of Jackson, trying to possibly work together with each other at the moment and not be silly in any sort of form and make any moves, but running wide is Hayden Jackson and nearly leaving the door open for Brady Buchanan to just slip on by, but they're on the tail of Sam Lehman, who's got a little bit of a gap to Cardellone, so we'll have to see what's going to end up happening, whether Jackson's going to decide to try and go for a move on Lehman at some point or not, but we'll have to see.
That angle, the lime green, is definitely not Aston Martin merchandise. It's a little bit more lows or big W, but that's okay. I've been watching these two, just sort of hoping for some words to be exchanged in the little battle they're having, but there is just too much focus as they are both shaping up, looking at the podium positions. Also, a new fastest lap of the race for the TCR field, as Angus Cook in third is staying with Jack Boyd and Lee Harrison at the lead. You can see Caleb Hyde's desperately trying to pedal away at the MX5 lead, but no such luck in TCR for Jack Boyd, who still has big old train of Audi RS3s behind him. Rihanna in fourth, critically, I think, just trying to keep connected with the leaders. The top six, I think, just in the picture here, and you can tell it's an extra 4 or almost 5 kilometers an hour for Lee Harrison, all the way from the Kemmel Kink to the braking zone at Lacombe.
Yeah, certainly it's not a lot of time when you think about it, but Lee Harrison just sitting in behind, as well as possibly Cook just sitting in behind Harrison, all possibly just fuel saving a little bit to try and offset the pit stop so they can get a jump on the championship leader and race leader at the moment, Jack Boyd, who's still pressing on, trying to pull a little bit of a gap, but the draft really not making that possible at the moment. Connor's into the pit lane as well as Paradiso to get their pit stop out of the way and possibly a little bit of damage as well get fixed.
Yeah, no pit stop takers in TCR yet, but popular for some of the MX5s. We saw Sean Doyle pit, but on the same lap, Adam Sharp pitted. Now we've got Connors and Paradiso. Darren Sharp, I think, had to pit early with the damage. We saw that one in the bus stop. But of everyone who has pitted, 26 seconds of service for Sean Doyle. That should be a fair chunk of fuel. Or not that much fuel, but an amount that could take an MX-5 a long way.
You know, the fuel bin won't be exactly large in the MX-5 class with its small little economic motor, so the amount of fuel they'll need to get home won't exactly be a large amount, and the fact that they actually sit still for so long as well because of the fact that it's a jerry can style refueling as well. But it's on for the lead, and TCR is contact between Boyd and Harrison. Harrison decides to duck to the pit lane to get his pit stop out of the way, so the first pit stops happening in TCR now. Vantagiato joins his slipstream teammate as well, so starting to see a few people duck to the lane to get pit stops out of the way.
Yep, so that's clearly the team call. Harrison and Vantagiato pitting the same lap. Leaves Jack Boyd in the lead, but Angus Cook is going to get an almighty slipstream on the Kemmel Straight. We'll watch it from his perspective as he really gets to the apex Viridion coming up the hill, following exactly wherever Jack Boyd goes. Boyd's following a pretty typical racing line. You can start to feel slipstream in effect for Angus Cook.
You certainly see the gap closing very, very quickly by the delta on the screen, and Cook within striking distance more or less at this stage.
Colin train on the pit entry right now, by the way. Caleb Hyde went in, Matthew Cartalone's followed him, and everyone else has decided now is the time. So what are these guys going to be relative to Sean Doyle, for example? We're going to find their relative crews there. Skariev had a bit of a problem through the bus stop on his way to the pit lane here, as Lachlan Capel joins him. Here's Doyle at racing speed. What is the tint on that visor?
It's a very unique one, I must admit.
Oh, it's not
That's
painted
flames.
on top. Oh.
Very, very fancy.
Look
How
at
is
that.
the equality of the pit stops?
And how is the overcut for Sean Doyle. He's at pace, but he's got to go the long way around La Source when the pit exit. Gets to shortcut a little bit of it, but he's going to be at speed. They're all going to be in front of him towards Eau Rouge. I don't think he has gained anything fantastic here, but he has split Hydes, Catalone, Jackson, and Lehman and Buchanan. So he's got Lehman and Buchanan behind him, and the top three on their outlap in front of him. Maybe he's been able to carry more speed through Eau Rouge and Radion, and that'll help him all the way. Certainly, for just clearing his head and having a couple laps by himself, the early pit stop, not a bad idea from Sean Doyle.
It's definitely not a bad idea to have done the early pit stop compared to everybody else, and he's found himself right in the battle as well. So we'll have to see how he's going to end up going and where he's going to end up finding himself at the end of this race. The safety car will certainly help him there. Cook, Hobby, and Boyd, as well as McMillan, Phillips, and a few others all coming on to the lane to get their pit stops out of the way. And Harrison's going to end up jumping them all. See how far out he comes ahead of Cook, who's just leaving the lane now. This is going to be very, very close between the two of them. And there goes Lee Harrison. So Lee Harrison getting quite the jump on Angus Cook out of the pit lane. So that undercut certainly worked in Harrison's favour.
Yep. And Glenn Boyd gets out just before Catalone sideways in Lefania as he had maybe a little bit of contact with Caleb Hydes there. Jackson, Doyle, and Lehman all stream on through, and we will grab the virtual racing school replay on this one, side by side through Pawn, like they had been on some previous occasions. That's Jackson. Was he not aware Jackson was there?
I'm not sure. Kind of hard to tell from the angle. It was almost probably a little bit too eager of a dive there from Jackson to try and get up the inside of Cardellone. And unfortunately, Cardellone has come off second at best in that one, unfortunately.
Yeah, sure has. These are the leading of the drivers who've pitted. Your top three are still out. Jack Boyd, Jackson Rehana, and Richard Brookfield, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see them in pretty soon. The only three cars who haven't made a pit stop yet in this one. Rehana's maybe been a little bit shortchanged by his teammate Angus Cook pitting, because Rehana is just out of the slipstream of Jack Boyd. Well, Cook almost acted as a bit of a bridge between them for a bit there, and it's seen that the cars in between take their pit stop and leave Rehana in a bit of a no man's land. But Jack Boyd for the pit lane now, not a giant surprise. What would be surprising is if anyone else continued. Rehana coming in, Richard Brookfield coming in as well.
Yes, so see the rest of your field come down onto the lane, so we'll see where they're going to come out in relation to those around them, especially the likes of Jack Boyd, with the fact that Harrison did indeed jump Cook, so we'll see how it's going to end up coming together, as Harrison's just making his way down the front straight across the line. Boyd still hasn't left. He's only just left, so this is going to be very, very close. And so is Rehana, and Lee Harrison and Angus Cook have both jumped Jack Boyd out of the lane, although it's going to be a drag race between Cook and Boyd, but Cook has managed to gain that position in the end.
Yeah, interesting. Obviously, some pretty good laps there from Lee Harrison to jump Jack Boyd. Also, I think 2 seconds shorter on the lane, and that stands to reason that the guys who pitted a little bit earlier would have taken on a little bit less fuel than those who went later. So we'll see if that then flips back the opposite direction later on. But here's Rehana at good speed up behind Hobby, looking to get down the inside at Lacombe. Easier said than done. Hobby holds it well around the outside, and I think that's going to frustrate Jackson Rehana a little bit, that he hasn't been able to get through, and he is a little adrift of what's now a top three breakaway of Harrison, Cook, and Jack Boyd.
Yeah, certainly going to be a little bit more frustrated with the fact that he's going to be stuck behind Andrew Hobby instead of closer to those top 3 at the moment, like he was prior to the pit stop. So we'll have to wait and see whether he's going to be able to make his way on by Hobby and end up gaining anything out of that. But the safety car will help him if he can't do that in the end. And who knows when that safety car is going to come. Doyle goes defensive on Lehman, though, in the MX5 class. And Lehman's going to hold off Hayden Jackson for the time being. And Buchanan and Jackson still working together as well. Still line astern between them. Hides up the road as well. But here comes Lehman up the inside of Sean Doyle. And to get that move done, he's going to make that very, very nice. Although Doyle's not going to let this one go too easily. Tries an outside line. Is it going to get a slightly better run off the corner as well? So see if a move's going to possibly happen on the way down towards El Rouge, but there isn't. It's going to be a little bit of bump drafting though between the two of them. He's going to head down past the old pit lane. And Doyle really tucked up right in behind Lehman there. Looks to the left-hand side of Lehman, and here comes Hayden Jackson and Brady Buchanan too.
Doyle made a mega move here a lap ago to go from 4th into 2nd, but now they're just absolutely boxing in. Super Speedway spec, what lane do you pick? And the answer is everyone is leaving Sean Doyle out to dry as Hayden Jackson pushes Sam Lehman forward and then gets right into the door of Sean Doyle as well. And now it's checked up a bit. And it's Brady Buchanan looking to get down the inside here as well. So they've gone from being 4 cars in 2 car lengths to really spacing out through Lacombe.
They certainly have ended up in that situation that they are after what's happened at Lacombe. They've all shuffled each other around and tried to get into their own little battles. But as a result, it sort of held some up and gave an advantage to others. But Lehman's going to be the bigger winner out of that, staying ahead of Sean Doyle, who set the move up, but isn't going to have happened. Jack Boyd has made his way on by Angus Cook on the way into Lacombe as well, so he'll slot into 2nd and now be on the hunt for Lee Harrison. But whether Cook's going to be able to pressure the back of it, Jack Boyd, and follow him through is the next question.
Byron Phillips is trying to pick off a couple spots after his lap 1 issues. I think he slipstreamed past Glenn Boyd and then just gone door to door with Vantage Giardo now as well. So Byron Phillips, having made a pit stop, is up into 6th. And Jack Boyd is within that critical 2nd of Lee Harrison as well. So later on into sector 3 of this lap, you think on the way towards Blanchimont, that could really, really help him.
Yeah, it certainly will pay dividends on the way down towards Blanchimont with the fact that it's going to have a nice bit of draft to close that gap and possibly make a move on the way into the bus stop. I was about to say the pit stop, but anyway, we'll carry on with that one. But he's going to have to be careful that Angus Cook doesn't make a move as well, since Cook is a little bit closer to the back of Boyd than Boyd is to the back of Lee Harrison. And that train is still the same as it was 1 lap ago in the MX5s. Lehman currently leading it at the moment. Oh, nearly contact between himself and Sean Doyle on the way into La Source, and up the inside goes Sean Doyle, but he's not going to get the run that he will have hoped as a result of a not so great exit. He's actually lost a little bit of time as a result too, so going to probably set this move up a little bit easier on the way up towards a Rouge, but the safety car has been called, so that's going to put that battle to an end.
Yeah, indeed. First safety car. We went quite deep into this race before that first safety car. Lee Harrison is still the race leader now, and there is, for the first time, our safety car. Rolling Mr. Greg Holmes. Beautiful Porsche GT3 Cup.
Very, very bright as well, so you're probably not going to miss it as well.
And I wonder if Jay can get a shot of a closer shot of the safety car, because it bears the decals of our favorite sponsor today, Extreme Air Conditioning. Where are they? It's Palms on the nose, Simworks on the side. Are they on the roof? Are they on the... Oh, wait, Extreme or KP? Yeah, it was Extreme, right?
was extreme, yes.
So this is like, where's Wally on the safety car?
So, is it? It's not on the rear wing, is it? No.
Well, yeah, there's our sponsor service for this safety car, isn't it? The roof has the most important graphic of all, sim speed.
Absolutely top level graphic. Surely you can get a better shot than that, though, Jay.
Well, there you go. Club Day Masters, and particularly this broadcast of Club Day Masters, made possible by the sponsors that you have both on our graphics package and on the safety car. Definitely seen extreme on the top right of screen in that cycling part of the graphics package, but conspicuously absent on the safety car.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting that it's not on the safety car. You would have thought that it was with every other logo on there.
My goodness, no, it's on the shoulders of the race suit of our safety car driver.
No way.
I went where's Wally on this, and yeah, I'm pretty sure if seeing the race suit I'm seeing, just below his shoulder on the arm, extreme.
Oh, it's even on the helmet too.
So it is. So it is.
Must admit, interesting location for a logo.
Couple of wave rounds happening right here, as you can tell. It's getting waved around. That's what Paradiso is. I imagine Darren Sharp is going to as well. I think that's one of the remaining wave rounds at this point.
I think it's the only wave round, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, yeah, true. Philip Paradiso got his earlier, and Darren Sharp we just saw taking the wave around. So those are the two key ones that are going to try to catch the respective pack. I'm looking at the pit stop times from before this safety car as it stays on for another lap. Yeah, Lee Harrison and Vantagiato pitting early. Both took about 13 seconds of fuel. Both pitted after 4 laps. Whereas Jack Boyd, who went 6 laps, took on 15.5 seconds of fuel. So I think there is some discrepancy. And Richard Brookfield, who also pitted late, with closer to 16 seconds of fuel. So I think there is some discrepancy in the fuel loads there. Some of those who pitted a bit later in TCR might be carrying a bit more. And then I think similar things can be said of MX5, where I reckon Hides and Lehman are carrying just a little bit more than Sean Doyle at the moment, remembering he also went for that pit stop earlier than others. So those who pitted later will have burned more fuel, therefore have more room in the tank to be able to fit more and be carrying more again now.
You're certainly not wrong in that department. Although what possibly has happened as well is that possibly people have underfueled, in quotation marks, with the fact that they know the safety car is coming. So they're probably trying to run the race to what the safety car, or when the safety car is going to be coming out, So we'll have to see what's going to happen and whether anybody's possibly going to be caught out by the fact that they've got a little bit too less fuel at the end.
So Lee Harrison started third and he's running in the lead. Angus Cook started fifth, he's running in third. Andrew Hobby from 10th finds himself in fourth at the moment. So it's worked well for Mr. Hobby. He's the biggest mover in TCR. I think it's Sean Doyle in the MX5 field. But part of that, I am speculating right now, might be a little bit of an underfuel on the first stop. We could see him need a bit more for the second stop, but he has jumped up into third in class.
Yeah, Perryman, that can very quickly change as well with the battling that's been going on in that class as well, with the likes of Lehman, Doyle, Jackson, Buchanan all in a line, and now that Cardellone is back in the fight as well as the rest of the MX5s, it could very well possibly shake that class up.
It's a good thing or a bad thing of having a manual safety car that the Porsche GT3 isn't just banging against the rev limiter in first gear.
I want to say a good thing. Other than, again, who doesn't love a screaming flat six motor?
Greg Holmes showing a lot more restraint than Barney's safety car driving cousin, who has no care for service intervals or oil temperatures or things of that nature.
So not too far away from going racing by the sounds of it. So the pace car isn't too far away. Well, the safety car, I should say, isn't too far away from pulling away from the field. So we'll be going green this time by, and
No, I don't
action is
think we
going to
will.
resume.
I heard differently than that.
I guess we'll see and find out then.
How many sheep you want to bet?
Well,
No, I'll bet you an orange orange monster for a pink one.
I'll do a deal. I'll throw in the monster and give you 2 sheep.
You are too generous, Cameron Dance.
Oh, it's still up the road. I can see it from the yard up the road.
Now, don't say anything that would incriminate yourself.
True. Oh,
But safety
I'm guessing no. Yeah,
Staying on
then.
track for one more lap. And there are a couple drivers who are going to avail themselves of pit entry that has opened. That's surprising. They must be seeing that they can reach the end from here. Jack Boyd, Angus Cook, Jackson Rehana, Byron Phillips, Fancy Giotto. Yeah, real popular in in TCR. Is it going to be popular in MX5 as well? I mean, it is. Lehman, Doyle, Jackson, Buchanan, Cardellone. This is as busy as pit lane has almost ever been.
Yeah, so everybody deciding to come down onto the lane to get some fuel and possibly some tyres. And the TCRs with a quick splash and dashing straight back out by the looks of it. So no change in those top 3. Or former top 3, I should say. Between the order of Cook, Boyd, Cook and Rehana.
Pretty standing. Longest stop going on right now for Dale Carpenter. It's the tyres, isn't it? That car's up on the jacks.
Yes, you would be correct. It would be tyres. And also notice that Cardellone has actually jumped Buchanan and Jackson and Doyle as well in that pit stop phase.
TCR cars allowed to line up at the front of the train.
So the MX-5 is going to get shuffled to the back of, well, in behind the TCR field at least. So there's going to be no mix-ups or possible problems off the restart.
So we'll be going racing at the end of this lap, and I'm going to enjoy my orange monster and my sheep. Phrase that I've never said before in my life, but it's funny how things work out. And this is, I mean, Andrew Hobby not pitting with this safety car has jetted him all the way up to second. But he's obviously, well, I say obviously, probably going to need another pit stop to get home. It's entirely feasible that Boyd, Cook, Raihana, Phillips, Fantagiato are fueled to get to the end the way this is going. You can't clutch it and save behind the safety car on the TCR. They don't have a clutch. Safety car is going to accelerate away from the field now. Lee Harrison, the leader. Safety car miss pit in, or is it just hanging out here? Anyway, it doesn't matter because Lee Harrison's controlling the field. No? Yeah, safety car's out the way. Lee Harrison is going for it from Andrew Hobby and Shannon McMillan. Big move there from Byron Phillips looking down the inside. Caleb Hydes has decided to pit right now.
Yeah, very odd. He's decided to come down onto the lane now rather than under that safety car. But 3 wide on the way out of La Source. Byron Phillips, Cook, Vantagiato, and Raihana and Vantagiato in the wall. Brookfield involved, and Boyd involved. Jack Dale Carpenter as well, and a few of the MX-5s too.
This is proper Monza spec. The track is blocked on the way down to Eau Rouge, and they've come to a complete halt in the MX-5 field. Massive damage on a whole handful of these cars. The track is blocked. Damage for Cardellone. Sam Lehman reversing across in front of everyone. Hayden Jackson's gotten through. Sean Doyle's gotten through. But look at that damage on the car for Lehman. My goodness, how did that all start?
Yeah, how did that all start? We really do need to dissect that. But who this is given the advantage to is also Caleb Hydes, who's pretty much just coming through El Rouge now. So he's not lost out too much, but we'll have a look. And yeah, just contact between the two of Raihana and Vantagiato on the way down the hill. And unfortunately, the rest have just had nowhere to go, unfortunately, and just ploughed on in. And Glenn Boyd getting up on 2 wheels as well. And then the MX-5 have all come down the hill and not realised what's at the bottom, and had to come to a complete stop with a few of them, unfortunately, getting involved with a few bangs here and there, and a few scratch panels.
Not a great rejoin from Sharp here either. Can't see a damn thing. Can't see a damn thing. Can't see a damn thing. Oh! And bang. And was that racing radios? Then he kind of backs off here, squeezes in Cardellone, reverses backwards into Lehman, drives forwards into Cardellone, reverses into Lehman, who reverses back across in front. And just, my goodness, who has gotten through unscathed on that one? No one in MX5. TCR, it has just created a huge gulf between the top 7 and the rest.
Yeah, it certainly has created 2 packs, more or less, but in the TCR field, and this pretty much near on destroyed everybody's car in MX5. I don't think there's a single car, with the exception of Caleb Hydes and maybe Sean Doyle, who don't have damage on that car. Everybody else's car is just very, very beaten up.
It just all came flooding down there like an actual flood. Obviously, a lot of straight line speed missing from Paradiso there as Jackson throws it down the inside. And then here is Doyle with a less damaged car. Doesn't get a lanes width. Gets into the back of Aiden Jackson, who's not going to slow that thing down. Aiden Jackson's going to miss the chicane. And Sean Doyle is going to go through in a second. Capel also picking off some spots. And a handful of them going for pit lane. Obviously, the damage just too much to stick it out there for Sam Lehman and some others. Lead of the race, Lee Harrison and Andrew Hobby going for the lead. Jack Boyd then in third, which is where he needs to finish. Anywhere inside the top 5 here, championship would be Jack Boyd's. So I'm not sure how much he wants to get up there and go for the win.
We'll see whether he's going to be able to close that gap down to Hobby and Harrison, or whether he's going to have to deal with a little bit of fighting going on from Phillips and McMillan and even Cook as well. We'll have to wait and see, though, nevertheless. So they're going to come through Puhon, and Boyd seems to have a little bit of pace, and he should have Hobby's draft as well, so he might just be able to start closing that gap down ever so slightly as they continue to run through this race.
Well, now 20 minutes to go here in Club Day Masters. Is Doyle going to be able to close down Cardellone? Cardellone definitely picked up a bit of damage for poor Hello Kitty. I've seen people with Hello Kitty seat covers, but never the whole car. You can definitely tell the front right is not perfect, and aerodynamic damage, anything that adds drag, is a huge, huge penalty around this circuit.
Yeah, certainly it's a little bit wounded as that MX-5 at the moment, especially on that right front corner. Though it shouldn't be too big of a hamper with the fact that it's not too much damage, but we'll have to see what's going to happen. Harrison into the lane as well in the TCR field, so he's making his pit stop along with Hobby and Shannon McMillan.
Yeah, they're obviously covering off to the end of the race. And the driver not to do so at this point would look to be Matthew McMillan. Everyone else, I think, is getting to the end in this one. Hobby's going to come out in front of Lee Harrison there. It's interesting to see. For the lead, Cardellone and Doyle will see some lap times that could be representative as they cross the line this time, but that gap does look like it's coming down for Doyle. He's going to be within 1 second. Lachlan Capel, Anthony Connors, Brady Buchanan behind. Car looks pretty clean for Capel as well. So Cardellone 49.8, Doyle 48.9. So basically a second faster. That's the final stop there for Shannon McMillan. Matthew McMillan, as I said, the only driver yet to do so. It's a bit of side-by-side between Rihanna and Brookfield, and Brookfield lets him go.
Yeah, no real fight put up there in the end by Brookfield, and Rihanna just blasting on by with great ease, but Doyle closing that gap down to Cardellone very, very quickly, and they've got Shane McMillan just in front of Doyle as well, and that's not really going to be what Sean Doyle will have wanted, is getting balked off the corner by a TCR car. As McMillan's going to send it up the inside of Cardellone now, this time at Stavolo. I should say Ravage.
Glad you corrected yourself, otherwise I was going to take a lot of delight in doing it for you. I think it's all fair. Between Cardellone and Doyle, though, neither of them in the net scheme of things really lost a lot of time to that.
Must admit, we must keep an eye on Caleb Hydes, though, because he's all over the back of Brady Buchanan at the moment and starting to make his way forward towards that front pack as well. So he's not too far away from getting to them, just getting on by Brady Buchanan, who's let Hydes on by. So another position gained for Hydes, and Anthony Connors, the next target on his list. And Hydes, with pretty much a clean car, is going to be able to get this thing home and put in some very, very nice lap times as well as a result.
Probably the last pit stop of the race then just completed. And there is nothing in it for the MX-5 lead now. This, at the end of the straight, is where Doyle has just huge, huge speed compared to Cardellone. They're going to get real close as they break into the bus stop. Cardellone is going to defend the inside. Doyle gives him just a friendly nudge. And I think the only hurry up here for Doyle is that Lachlan Capel is going to join them as well. And then after that could be Anthony Connors, and then would be Caleb Hydes, now released into fifth.
Contact between the two MX-5 leaders as well, between Doyle and Cardellone, and that's allowed Capel to get right in involved with this as well.
Well, a bit of action in front of MX-5. Doyle not able to get past Matthew Cardellone. And then here comes, at speed, Glenn Boyd?
Yes. Well, it's Jack Boyd. I think there'd be big issues just quietly.
Yep. Cardellone defending the inside, around the outside. No room for Sean Doyle. And then Capel and Connors have caught them up, and then so too Caleb Hydes as well.
Yeah, and all this fighting has certainly brought those others into the fight, as Doyle's going to look to the outside of it, McMillan, but not going to find any sort of grip out there. And Capel and Connors just sitting in behind at the moment, and Hydes is now all over the back of this, so fully expecting him to be able to get on by them and move to the front of this little pack in the next 2 laps or so.
Yeah, 6-car battle for the lead in MX-5 now. It's that damage. I mean, it's not getting any less for Matthew Cardellone. There was damage on the front. Now I think there's a bit on the rear as well. Most of the cars behind looking pretty clean. Doyle, Capel, Connors, Hydes, hard to tell, but I think his car's mostly clean.
He did pit, so if he hasn't taken a, well, if he has taken a fast repair, his car will be clean, but we'll have to see what's going to happen in a straight line. He should be the cleanest out of these lot, with the exception of Connors and Capel probably is now.
This will get spicy for second. This will get spicy for fourth. Connors down the inside of Doyle in Blanchimont. Hydes down the Capel down the inside of Doyle. Hydes down the inside of Connors there, and somehow they all make it work without dying. And now Capel down the inside of Cardellone in the bus stop. Hydes super deep around the outside, and it'll give Lachlan Capel the lead. Cardellone is going to hold on a second. Hydes is going to shoot through into third.
You might even be able to get into second on the way into turn 1. Possibly goes around the outside of Cardalone on the way into turn 1. So not going to be able to get a move done there. Doyle tries to set up a move, but not going to be able to get a good enough run. But the outside line is certainly going to prove its worth for Caleb Hyde's on the way down towards El Rouge and Medillion. We'll see what's going to happen. You'd have to think there's going to be a move at the end of the Kemmel Straight by Caleb Hyde's on Cardalone, and he'll certainly need to get a little bit of a move on as well, especially with the fact that Capel has started to build a little bit of a gap on these guys as well.
Cardalone almost just going to escort Hydes through. Hydes up in a second. Doyle almost running out of speed on the inside there. Really late on the brakes, and he is going to get back up into third. I think Connors and Buchanan behind just don't know what to make of these guys in front. They're just sort of sticking to the train and watching and waiting the fireworks that might inevitably happen. The lead of the race, it is absolutely bumper to bumper between Jack Boyd, Byron Phillips, and Angus Cook in TCR. So keep that one on your radar, as they are probably only starting 4 laps to go in this one, I think. Hard to do the back of the napkin maths on that one.
Let's say I'm probably going to say 5 to go, but we'll have to see who's going to win out of that one. But nevertheless, still going on in MX5 at the moment to decide who's going to be finishing on the podium, who's possibly going to end up in the fence, and who's going to be winning the race. But Caleb Hydes is all over the back of Capel at the moment, but still going on behind them is coming through is Lee Harrison and Andrew Hobby. So Vantagiato, I should say. So we'll see what's going to happen here. Hopefully they don't lose too much time and might even be able to provide a little bit of help. Will Vantagiato with the draft?
Nothing in it for that MX5 lead there. Capel is right up behind Hydes, but Hydes has obviously gone and taken that lead through Blanchimont, bumper to bumper. I think Vantagiato would be able to clear him before the bus stop. He's going to have to try to go around the outside because Hydes is trying to defend the lead, and Vantagiato's just rolled out of it, waiting for a longer straight.
Yeah, just wasn't quite able to get close enough there, but he might be able to do it on the way into turn 1. Maybe not. Yes, he will get it done as Hydes is just going to slot in behind. So Hydes is going to get a little bit of a draft off Vantagiato, but so will Capel, and then the rest will follow suit. But at the front of the TCR field, Byron Phillips really pressuring at the back of Jack Boyd and looking to the inside as well of Jack Boyd. He's going to have the inside for Blanchimont. What's Jack Boyd going to do? The contact between them. Off goes Phillips straight into the barrier.
Phillips thought he was going to get the corner, and I think he's come across there a bit onto Jack Boyd in a huge accident. Now Angus Cook wants to get around the outside of Jack Boyd, and it's not going to happen. Cook's in fact not got the fuel to get to the end, so he is on to pit lane. Boyd and Phillips going to be in the same dramas as well if we don't have a second safety car, and it's looking like we're not going to have a second safety car. But here's Boyd holding his space around the outside. He's got his outside tyres right on the white line. Boyd is as far to the right-hand side of the track as you can go. And Phillips just comes across a little, I think, spears him straight to the scene of the accident. Thank you for lending me your phrase, Martin Brundle.
Not really much else Jack Boyd could have done there to avoid that incident. So, unfortunately, Byron Phillips has come off second best there and is going to be very, very wounded. I'd imagine he will have had to have pit as well after that, which he has. So he's going to have dropped down in behind Andrew Hobby after that ordeal. But in the MX5 class, it's still going on at the moment. Capel's managing to keep up with Caleb Hydes, but Cardalone, Doyle, Buchanan, Connors all in a little train at the moment, as Doyle's possibly looking for a move around the outside of Cardalone on the way down to Stavelo, but that's not going to happen, and instead he's going to try and do a crossover move as they come through curve at Paul Freya, and sitting at the run up nicely, tucked right up in behind, moves to what's going to be the outside for Blanchimont. This is going to be very, very brave from Doyle to try and hold it around the outside. He's going to have company in the form of Buchanan as well. He's going to go side by side on the way up towards Blanchimont. Who's going to be the bravest? Who's going to be able to hold it? We'll have to wait and see as Doyle gets shuffled out with a little bit of contact on the exit of the corner. And now Buchanan's going to try and go around the outside of Doyle as well. But that's not going to...
Cardellone is not even going to make the corner, not even close. Quality rejoin going for the pit lane for Cardellone, who's then plebbed it into the pit entry because there was a Hello Kitty that hadn't been, brutally scuffed up on that car yet. So he's on a pit lane, and then I wonder, for some of these MX-5s, that they're also potentially short on fuel. Cardellone definitely would have been burning more with the aerodynamic damage. Angus Cook at the pit has still come out in second ahead of the other green flag stoppers. So it is going to be mighty spicy for who has got the fuel and who needs to pit again. For Jack Boyd, the answer is he needs a quick splash to get him 3 more laps to the end of this one. Cook's already done it, already covered it off, and he's ahead of Harrison and Hobby, who are fueled to the end. And Byron Phillips, after getting on the tow hook, or did he manage to drive it around from Blanchimont to the pit lane? He's in 5th somehow still, despite what we saw.
Yeah.
Must have been able to limp it around to pit entry after that huge Blanchimont accident.
Yeah, I did have a look myself, and he did manage to just limp it back to the lane. And Boyd is just going to come out ahead of Angus Cook, but not too far behind Harrison and Hobby. So it's still very well possibly be a 4-way fight for the race win here. But Boyd's got a little bit of a gap over Cook at the moment. But Cook has momentum. We'll see what's going to happen at the top of the hill. But that gap is closing down rapidly.
And Harrison and Hobby are flying along as well. And Harrison's 2 seconds back off Angus Cook. So if he can close at 1 second this lap, then he's within the slipstream for the next lap. You can see them all in line down the Kemmel Straight. So we're bringing this one home to quite a bit of a climax, I would say. Harrison and Hobby have been quick since their pit stops. Boyd and Cook just getting up to speed, I think. Could still be a 4-way fight there for TCR. And in MX-5, Hydes is just starting to run away with his class lead, but does he have the fuel? Last pitted a lap later than almost everyone else in class. You remember, Hydes went to pit lane as they restarted from the safety car. So Hydes might have pulled a blinder on everyone. I think he's got the most fuel of all. More than Lachlan Capel, who he's battling with. Then 3rd place is the battle we're looking at right now between Buchanan, Doyle and Anthony Connors, where Buchanan's going to defend the inside to the bus stop. Doyle doesn't see a way around the outside there, and I would say that's probably smart. All 3 of them are going to stay out of the lane. They're going to keep on battling for 3rd, and they can see 1st and 2nd up the road. Meanwhile, Hayden Jackson is going to get around Darren Sharp, who I think is still carrying a bit of damage. No, it looks like Hayden Jackson's the one with most of the damage here.
Looks like Sharp's car is reasonably clean, a little bit cleaner than what Jackson's car is at least, but coming it through Blanchimont is your leader, Jack Boyd, and Cook is not too far behind as well. He's closed that gap down quite a lot, has Angus Cook, over this last lap, and is continuing to try and close it down as well. And that draft is really going to be helping him in that department. And Lee Harrison is within draft range roughly of Angus Cook as well, so he's going to be able to try and close that gap down too.
Yeah, so the action continues for Lacombe as one of the key overtaking opportunities. Looking good for Doyle in his little 3-car battle here with Buchanan and Connors. And then for the race lead, Capel's gotten ahead of Hydes, even if only briefly. This is how, just kind of beached it on the curb a bit, did Hides? Did he try to open up the entry of the corner a little bit much and maybe get some of the grass? Did that look like a... Is he playing with his food, or was that an honest mistake?
Yeah, that's a really, really weird one. Not quite sure what's happened there, but he's sweeping back around the outside at the chicane on Capel. So taking that lead straight back is Caleb Hyde. So no messing around there in that department. But yeah, very, very odd mistake that he's made there to end up losing the lead. But no, he's got it straight back. But Capel's going to be within draft. So I'm wondering if he's possibly made that move a little bit too early, as they should get the white flag in 2 laps time. So we'll see what's going to happen between these two. But you'd have to think that Hides is going to try his best to try and win this one.
Yeah, for sure. It'd be the perfect way to claim the championship. If you can, you'd want to stand on the podium, grab another winner's trophy, and use that. They get so close, and someone should remove that car and maybe that driver, because it might have cost Capel just a little bit there. It is going to be 2 to go for our MX5 fields, unless the TCR leaders catch them. So battle for the lead is Hides for the moment. Battle for third, Sean Doyle. Is going to be the white flag for your TCR leader pictured here. Lee Harrison, though, in third. What a huge run he's had on this lap and last lap to catch Cook, who is still in the slipstream of Boyd. So they're going to see the white flag for these TCRs. Lee Harrison has fought his way back into contention.
He certainly has fought his way back.
What's Barney doing standing over there? Doesn't matter. This is that third place battle where Sean Doyle's been giving them all a huge slipstream. Connor's almost nowhere to go. Gives Sean Doyle a dirty bump.
Doyle's going to stay at the front. Buchanan's going to be in behind, and Connor's going to stay behind as well. But what's going to happen on this last lap between these three in the next lap, who knows? But it's certainly on between Harrison and also Cook in the TCR classes. Are going to have Scary in between them as well. And Cook's going to end up taking the position, holding a position off, I should say, from Lee Harrison. Scary gets out of the way with quick moves, but those two have not changed in MX5 at the moment, as Buchanan certainly pressuring the back of Doyle.
Yeah, a little bit of a free kick there for Jack Boyd as Cook and Harrison got held up through Lacombe. Hides has managed to make good of the little gap he built from Lachlan Capel, so this is the closest battle in MX5. It says final lap on the graphic, but if these guys don't go a lap down to the overall leaders, they're going to have one more to go when they get to the line. It's going to be pretty close between where is Jack Boyd, where is Sean Doyle, Brady Buchanan, etc. I think they are just far enough up the road that they're going to get onto the next lap before Sean Doyle gets them. But that's multi-class racing. You're never quite sure. It's only a couple sectors to go here for Jack Boyd. We could potentially take another win in Club Day Masters, and in doing so wrap up his championship. They are going to start one more lap for these MX5 drivers, where Doyle is holding on to third from Buchanan, from Connors, to come through the bus stop and start one more lap for them. Doyle, I believe I did hear, picked up a drive-through penalty from incident limit off one of the bumps, but the checkered flag is ready for Jack Boyd, and he's going to win the Spa-Enduro in Club Day Masters from Angus Cook, and the podium completed by Lee Harrison. Andrew Hobby in the back of frame there, biggest mover, and he almost looks like he's out of fuel crossing the line here, even ripping the handbrake. Jack Boyd lays down the skids in La Source. And all the way into the classic pits, which are closed.
Unfortunately, they are, but very, very solid drive and has managed to come away with the championship as a result of that finish as well. So we're very, very happy with that as well. But Buchanan and Connors side by side on the way to Lacombe. Connors on the outside is going to have to back out of that one, and Buchanan is going to hold that position off.
And these guys got a whole nother lap of Spa still to go. Hydes, Capel, Buchanan, and Anthony Connors, the 4 cars that have managed to stay on the lead lap relative to the TCR leader. And, the time had run out, and then they have to start a whole nother lap of Spa on this 3-minute lap. What's the fuel going to be like for some of these guys? I've got to wonder, needing to go a whole lap of Spa longer than some of the others in class.
You certainly do have to scratch your head and wonder what's going to possibly happen as they come through the final few corners, and whether anybody's going to have to possibly clutch and lift and coast, or what the story is going to be. But nevertheless, it's been a very, very hotly contested class, that's for sure, with how it's all gone. And at the moment, so long as he doesn't run out of fuel, this man on screen, Caleb Hydes, is going to come away with a very, very nice race win and his hands on the championship trophy in the end.
Yep, precisely. Plenty of time in hand and a lot of empty track to just bring this one home for the maximum points. At Spa, pad out that championship lead even further than it was. Just the bus stop to go through for Hyde, and he's going to take the win. He's going to take the championship Season 5 TCR class in Club Day Masters. Can't rip the handbrake like a TCR, but I'm sure he'll find something. Put a tyre in the grass, but Buchanan for third, going to complete the podium ahead of Connors. And Doyle already took the checkered flag in 5th, but it's dropping him to 9th. Interesting.
Yeah, very, very odd.
Did he go off the lead lap by going into the pit lane and therefore not be able to serve it? I wonder. So then the results, now that everyone has taken the checkered flag at Spa, took a couple minutes, but we've done it. Jack Boyd, the winner, yet again in Club Day Masters, ahead of Angus Cook, Lee Harrison. The podium for TCR and Drew Hobby, I said, biggest mover from 10th. He was really mixing it in the podium positions all race, and then finishes just 4.5 seconds off the lead with a big green flag run at the end as well, testament to his pace and strategy. Byron Phillips in 5th. Big recovery from almost knocking every panel off the car in Blanchimont. Then McMillan in 6th, Rehana 7th, Dale Carpenter in 8th, Shannon McMillan 9th, Richard Brookfield 10th, and then it wasn't the day to be for Glenn Boyd and Ivan Vantagiato in 11th and 12th.
Meanwhile, in the MX5 class, Hydes takes out the win and the championship, with Capel coming home in 2nd. Buchanan's going to round out the podium. Connors 4th. Scariev comes home with the top 5. And Jackson, Lehman, Sharp all a lap down, and then over the page to Doyle, Paradiso, Cardellone, and Sharp, your DNFs.
Yeah, indeed. Great effort, though, by Greg Holmes, safety car driver. Did exactly what was needed of him there. So we wrap up this season of Club Day Masters and our coverage on SimSpeed TV. We're going to grab a couple of our drivers to have a word with. So, from TCR, finishing 2nd was Angus Cook. Right in there with Jack Boyd. An interesting pit strategy today as well. Seeing some green flag stops for all 3 of the stops that you made. 2 green flag stops and 1 safety car stop.
Yeah, it was really interesting. there was almost potential of us making it under that safety car. We thought that we might actually be able to make it, but unfortunately we're about maybe a lap and a quarter short. So we had to do that splash and dash at the end, which again probably put on a leader too much, and that might have cost me losing the draft to Jack at the end there. But very happy to consolidate in second there. Not sure if there might be a bit of a penalty cloud over Jack with the incident with Byron, but not really how you want to win it. I'm more than happy with P2, and I think we wrapped up the team's championship for some of the sim sports. So pretty happy. Luckily avoided the car park down at Radion and made it through to tell the tale.
Yeah, precisely. Plenty of door banging action. You'd think with 24 cars, there's 7 kilometers of Spa for you all to spread out on, but it doesn't work like that with the slipstream in these TCRs.
Nah, you've got slipstream, you've got cars that are pretty similar on pace with a fixed setup and a few hot heads, so there's always going to be some dramas in it. Probably, you throw in the MX-5s, the lapped MX-5s at the end there. Lee had a pretty good run on me, and luckily enough, I was able to box him in with Nick Scariev, I think, or someone, or rather just in an MX-5. So that kind of saved me because he had some speed on board to try and be able to overtake me. But that's how it goes. Unfortunately, couldn't pick up a win this season, but got bloody close on a few occasions and had some real good fun doing it.
Definitely some hot heads in Club Day Masters, but you can keep your head cool with extreme air conditioning. Look, I don't know how much we're able to say here on Sim Speed, but definitely confirming there is going to be more seasons going forward of Club Day Masters. You've been a bit of a stalwart across these last couple of races and seasons, and definitely mixing it up. I've spoken to you too many times this season, Angus Cook, so we're going to see you again.
Well, hopefully. Well, it'll be interesting to see what they decide on. There's a few, some new content coming out, which you generally see at a club day. So maybe there might be a car that has a V in it, but I'm interested to see what they decide and what path they go down. It was our first season this year, and I was eagerly watching the last few seasons, so I was really happy to get involved. Have it on a night that I'm free and have a full tilt at the championship, and to finish probably second and third in the championship for the team and take out the team's championship. It's not a bad first run at it.
If you pronounce BMW in a German accent, it has a V in it, but that is beside the point. Angus Cook, thanks for joining us. Congratulations on podium finish in the Spa Enduro.
Yeah, cheers, guys, and thanks, for SimSpeed for broadcasting. It's real good. I know my dad enjoys the broadcast at home, so yeah, have a good evening.
Shout out Dad Cook.
Yeah, that's it.
Cam Dance, we have spoken to one of our TCR podium getters. Who are you going to find from the Mazda MX-5 field?
I think we might as well grab the man who won the race and has won the championship in MX-5. Caleb, great season and a great race result to finish the season off as well.
Yeah, really pleased how we got that one done and finished the season on a high. So, but yeah, really happy to take out the championship. Put in, we can say, a lot of effort to be at the front every round, and we got a win in, I think, 7 of the 9 rounds. So yeah, really happy with how it's gone.
Yeah, certainly it was a very, very good season overall. In terms of this race, there was some umming and ahhing over fuel strategy and what was going to work and what wasn't. Did you find that your last pit stop you had enough fuel to get home, or was there still a little bit of fuel conserving that you still had to do?
Yeah, well, I thought originally that we were going to have 2 safety cars. So when we had our first one, all our MX-5 drivers had already done their first stop, and most of the field came in for their second stop, and I was quite surprised because I was just going to save mine until the second safety car. But I saw that time was running out, and I decided on the green flag that I'd just come in, chill at the back, and then with the second safety car, see how far we can come up. And they ended up not being a second safety car, so I went right to the back. But there was a big incident apparently down at Eau Rouge or something, and I was able to pick up a couple spots there and drive my way up back to the lead, and was able to get a little bit of a gap on Lachlan at the end there, and across the line, I think 5 seconds ahead, but I was pretty safe on fuel. I had like 3 liters, I think, to spare, so whole another lap, so that was good.
Certainly helped in the end to get that win. Next season is Going to be interesting to see what's going to happen. Are you going to be returning to try and defend your title at all?
Yeah, whatever car we come back in for next season, I'll be happy to join the grid. I obviously joined halfway through last season, did all this season, and it's just a lot of fun to do. So yeah, I'll definitely be back on whatever they decide to pick next season.
Counts and sponsors, big gets done for you guys.
Yeah, massive thank you to entire crew at Drop Bear Motorsports, team sponsors Sam Blacklock Media, Hybrid Racing Simulations, and Cozy. Big thank you to SimSpeed for putting on the shows and Club Day Masters for making this series happen.
Well, there you have it, David. A very, very happy MX5 race winner and also championship winner. And I believe you are going to be standing by with Lee Harrison.
Yeah, representing Slipstream Motorsport and also Club Day Masters. Lee Harrison, that is another season in the bag.
Yeah, where does the time go? It seems like the old cliche, seems like only yesterday we were getting started all the way back at Phillip Island, and now we're here at Spa and the season's done. So can't thank everyone enough that came on board and helped us out this season. Like we said in the interviews, the driver briefing this morning nearly didn't happen, but we got it across the line, and yeah, I think it was a pretty good season.
And definitely cramming an hour's worth of action into an hour's worth of racing today at Spa. We kind of always knew that these two cars, the TCR and the MX5, super slipstream cars on these wide open straights, really keeps the packs together, and might have actually led to a little bit of carnage as well, though.
Yeah, it seems that way. In the chat just a minute ago, we were talking, and there seems to be a couple of bust ups. Just, I don't know, people just impatient and think it's all going to be won on lap 10 or 11. Don't really realize you got to be there at the end to win it. So I just tried to keep my nose clean, tried to work at the start with Jack there until the first pit stops and just keep everything clean and tidy, and then hopefully we played the strategy right. But I think the long pit stop after the safety car played me out of the game a little bit. I had to take too much fuel and those other guys jumped me. So on to the next season, and hopefully we can do the team proud again.
Speaking of on to that next season, give all of the good people on SimSpeed TV the scoop. What can they expect from next season of Club Day Masters, and where would they go about signing up if they want a piece of this racing action?
Yeah, so we're going to jump back into a full-on TCR league next season. Club Day Masters iRacing League Facebook page is probably the page you need to jump onto, or the Club Day Masters group page as well. We'll be posting a bit more in-depth information over the next sort of couple of weeks, but we'll have a 2 to 3 week break here and just regroup and get everything sorted. We're going to run it sort of like a bit more of a professional league, one TCR car, that's all we got. Teams championships, we'll have prizes for first, second and third in the overall championship, as we always do. But yeah, lots of exciting information to come, hoping to sign some decent sponsors over the next few weeks as well as keeping on board all the faithful ones that have stayed with us through this season. And then on the side, we're also going to push in a second night of racing as well, where we're going to do a fun sort of league where it's just a bit more of a catch up with all the guys that have a similar mind to you, and we'll do something fun. 1 week will be Aussie Racing Cars, the next week we might do Mazdas somewhere, and just try and put on some entertainment for everyone that sits at home and watches.
You're going to lay on some shout outs, maybe starting with Extreme Air Conditioning of Broadview, South Australia.
Oh my God, you've put me under the pump here, guys. We've got Extreme Air Conditioning. He's been an absolute legend, followed us all the way through the season. You guys are going to have to prompt me here. I've got Prospect Pool and Spa. We've got Rinaldi's, Automotive Towing, KP Tech, Prospect Pool and Spa. Have I said those ones already? Going ad lib here, guys. So yeah, SimWorks. They've been our major sponsor. Can't thank them enough. Obviously, some lucky driver's going to win a pedal set thanks to SimWorks through this season. Look,
Palmer's and Digital Marketing Tribe.
Palmer's have done a great job. They sent out some awesome gift packs on the Mother's Day weekend that we had. So three participants got some Mother's Day gift packs in the mail. That was really cool. Digital Marketing Tribe, SimSpeed, you guys do an amazing job every week, and thanks for putting on a good show. yeah, like I said, it takes a lot of people to make this happen. Greg and Ivan and myself, we work tirelessly behind the scenes to make it happen. And I suppose, the ones that don't get seen or spoke about every week, everyone's got their family and their partners and stuff that have to put through us guys and girls that just want to sit behind a computer and drive imaginary race cars. So to all the loved ones out there, thanks for supporting your partners or whoever it may be that just wants to sit behind the computer and cut around laps in imaginary race cars.
So what about some of the new content that will maybe and might be coming? I mean, are we going to see Club Day Masters at Chicago? Are we going to see Club Day Masters at Red Bull Ring? Some of that is going to get worked out, or maybe in the back of your mind?
Red Bull Ring been released, has it? Is that confirmed?
I think it would be safe to assume we might be getting either one of Hungaroring or Red Bull Ring, or they might not be that far away.
Yeah, look, if the new content comes out and it's worth having a stab at, like we did obviously Hockenheim this season, and it made an absolute cracker race. So we might put some TBAs in the calendar when we're deciding the tracks for next week. But again, for next season, sorry. But again, this sort of season break gives us a few moments to see what's released over the coming week and make some decisions there. But yeah, Red Bull Ring's one of my favorite tracks of all time. So if that hits up the track list, then I'm fairly confident that it'll make it to our calendar for next season. It'll be another big draft track as well.
Yeah, indeed it will. Lee, thank you for having us, and we'll look forward to chatting again in a couple of weeks' time.
No worries. Thanks, guys. Thanks for, again, rocking up every week. You guys have done an amazing job, and yeah, thanks again. You guys put on an awesome show. So we'll see you guys for next season. That's definitely confirmed. We'll have you guys on board for next season, so you guys won't be going anywhere. And yeah, like I said, if anyone wants to join the fun for Club Day Masters next season, jump on the Facebook page. We'll share it around the groups in iRacing Down Under, all that jazz. So hell, you don't even have to be Australian. If you want to join in from Europe or wherever you are on a Monday afternoon, yeah, jump on board. Let's have some fun, guys.
And now, up on screen, all the supporters of Club Day Masters. It is Digital Marketing Tribe, Air Conditioning Sales and Manufacturing, Prospect Pool and Spa, Palmer's, 24/7 Race Control, SimWorks, Extreme Air Conditioning, KP Air, Rinaldi, and Automotive Towing. Thank you to all of them for having us here. We are SimSpeed TV. I'm David Haynes, Cam Dance with me, Jay Kennedy producing as always. And of course, a big congratulations goes out to our season champions, Jack Boyd and Caleb Hides. I'm going to have to find something else to do with my Monday nights for a couple of weeks, but then we'll see you again next season. So subscribe wherever you're watching your SimSpeed TV.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now. He's got traction. He's going the outside of both of them. Maloney.
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up to
Oh my God. Big crash. Oh my goodness. Half the field's going to get involved.
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go. Oh no.
That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?